Ever since the origin of gaming, one of its core selling points has always been its difficulty. The difficulty of a game really sets the mood of the game and can influence whether you play the game or not. In this video, I'll be going over each level of gaming difficulty and giving you recommendations of each game in each category. So stay along to see each recommendation. Level 1. No true difficulty. These are the games that practically play themselves. Enemies will do barely any damage, checkpoints are everywhere, and if you somehow manage to die, the game usually puts you right back where you left off. Sometimes you'll get even unlimited lives, aim assist, or enough healing items to survive almost anything. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Easy difficulties exist for a reason. Maybe you're completely new to gaming, maybe you're just here for the story, or maybe you don't want to spend hours fighting the same boss. These games usually create more cinematic experience for the viewer to enjoy. So most games you'll find in this category are story mode / interactive movie games. Some games I can think in this category are games like Mixtape, Stardew Valley, and Animal Crossing. What game I chose to represent this category and recommend to play is Firewatch. Firewatch is a relaxing story-driven adventure game where you can play as Henry, a fire lookout. The game more focuses on exploration, dialogue, and emotional storytelling rather than difficult combat or challenging mechanics. It represents level 1 good because it's a simple, accessible experience that allows any player to enjoy the atmosphere. Sure, people might joke that these games are impossible to lose, but for people playing these games, this is exactly what they're looking for, a relaxing experience. Don't get too comfortable though, because things at level 2 finally start fighting back. Level 2, Casual. This difficulty, the games finally start expecting something from you, but they still want you to have a good time. Unlike level 1, enemies actually fight back, mistakes can happen, and you might have to think about your decisions. This difficulty developers usually balance their game around because it gives the player a challenge without becoming too frustrating. Casual mode is where most players experience a game for the first time. It lets you focus on world, story, and fun mechanics without constantly worrying about getting destroyed by every enemy. Some games I can think in this category are Lego games, Pokemon games, and Portal 2. What I chose out as the standout and recommendation is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is an open-world adventure game where you can play as Link, exploring the Kingdom of Hyrule while fighting enemies, solving puzzles, and uncovering its lost history. It represents level 2 because it's easy for new players to pick up while still offering enough exploration, combat, and mechanics to keep the player engaged. For many gamers, this is the perfect middle ground. Not to say that victory feels meaningless, but not so hard that every mistake feels like you want to quit. However, the next level is where things start getting serious. Level 3, Challenging. At this level, winning isn't guaranteed anymore. Enemies hit harder, mistakes become more noticeable, and you actually have to pay attention to the game mechanics. You can't just run into every fight expecting to survive. You need to learn patterns, manage your resources, and make smarter decisions. The game gives a real sense of accomplishment because victories don't just happen. When you finally beat a boss or complete a tough section, it feels rewarding because you know you improved. To name some games, I'll say games like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, God of War, and the Assassin's Creed games. The game I chose as my recommendation and to represent this category is Minecraft. Minecraft doesn't need any further introduction. While the game is very easy to understand, the survival mode actually requires some skill if you want to see any success. It represents this level perfectly because it starts simple but gradually rewards skill, creativity, and knowledge as the player takes on harder goals, like the Ender Dragon. Unlike easier difficulties, challenging mode requires you to understand how the game works. It's not just a couple tries and you'll eventually get it. You actually need to start planning your boss fights. This is where most people find their love for harder games. Level 4, Punisher. Up until now, maybe you lose a little progress in how to retry at a checkpoint, but here, every decision matters. One wrong move, one missed dodge, or one wasted resource can cost you everything. These games demand patience. They expect you to learn from every death instead of just simply trying again. If you rush into a fight without a plan, chances are you'll be staring at the game over screen. Resources become scarce, enemies hit much harder, save points are fewer and farther between, forcing you to survive longer stretches without the safety of a checkpoint. Some games you can find in this category are games like Ultra Kill, Hollow Knight, and most competitive shooter games. And what I chose to represent this category in my recommendation is Terraria. Terraria is a 2D sandbox adventure game where players explore, build, craft, and battle increasingly difficult enemies and bosses. As the game progresses, survival depends on preparation, strategy, and mastering its combat. I chose it for this category because how harsh the game can be on you when you're not ready. This level is where gaming becomes frustrating. For others, this is where it becomes addicting. Because once you overcome a challenge that was difficult, it's hard to look back at the easier ones. Level 5, Souls-like. I gave this genre of games its own level solely based off its reputation. If you ever played a Souls-like game, you already know what's coming. You're gonna die over and over again. These games aren't trying to make you angry, they're trying to make you learn. Every death teaches you something. Maybe you dodged too late, or maybe you got greedy, you went for an extra hit, or maybe you walked into a fight completely unprepared. The more you play, the more you start to recognize enemy attacks, learning boss patterns, and improving little by little. Before long, the boss that seemed impossible suddenly becomes manageable, and that's what makes these games so satisfying. Some games in these categories are Dark Souls, of course, Ghost of Tsushima, and Sifu. What I chose as the recommendation and standout is Elden Ring. Elden Ring is an open-world action RPG where players explore the dangerous lands between, fighting challenging enemies, powerful bosses, while creating their own playstyle. The game rewards patience, learning enemy patterns, and improving through repeated attempts, instead of simply overpowering the enemy. Beating a Souls-like boss isn't just another checkpoint, it's proof that you've actually gotten better at the game. For a lot of players, this is the perfect level of difficulty. Hard enough to keep you on your toes, but fair enough that every death feels like it was your own fault. If you made it this far into the video, if you can drop a like and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, let's get back into the next level. Level 6, Brutal. At this point, the game's selling points are how hard they are. These games, losing isn't surprising at all, it's expected. Unlike other levels, you can spend hours practicing, learning every single mechanics, and still get destroyed by some small mistake or something you weren't expecting. A single missed input, a bad decision, or one moment of hesitation can completely ruin your progress. Brutal games push your skill, patience, and dedication to the absolute limit. They demand near-perfect execution and expect you to master the mechanics that most players would not even notice. Some games you can find in this category are Getting Over It, The Binding of Isaac, and Celeste. And what I chose as the standout game in this category is Cuphead. Cuphead is a run-and-gun platformer inspired by 1930s cartoons, where players battle creative bosses with fast-paced combat and challenging patterns. The game requires precise timing, memorization, and constant practice because even small mistakes can lead to failures. But even at this reaching point, there's still games that go beyond what most players thought was possible. Level 7, Impossible/player-made levels. This is the point where games stop feeling difficult and they almost start feeling unreal. These are challenges that only a tiny percentage of the players will even be able to complete. They require an insane amount of practice, perfect timing, and sometimes even years of dedication. At this level, failure isn't measured in a few attempts or even a few hours. Players can spend up to hundreds or even thousands of hours on a single run. Most of these impossible challenges come from player-made levels. Examples of things to find in this category are crazy Mario Maker levels, no-hit challenges, and world record speedrun attempts. My standout thing for this category though is Geometry Dash Extreme Demons. Geometry Dash Extreme Demons are some of the hardest user-created levels in the game, requiring near-perfect timing, memorization, and thousands of attempts to complete. These levels push players to master incredible precise jumps, reactions, and patterns, where even a single mistake means starting over to 0%. They represent level 7 because only a small number of players can conquer the hardest challenges. What makes these games impressive is that they push the limit of what players thought was possible. They create communities dedicated to finding strategies, improving techniques, and proving that even the hardest challenges can be conquered. But for every person who completes one of these challenges, there's thousands who will never even be able to make it past the first step. The goal is to become one of the few people that can. That concludes all the levels. If you enjoyed this video, once again drop a like and subscribe. It would greatly help the channel out. Also give any recommendations for any other type of content you would like to see. Thanks for watching and have a great day.